excited you are here, and there are so many of you here, which is really awesome, and it has created an awesome problem because we are actually out of machzorim, out of prayer books. So if you are in a family or with someone else where you could share, if you could, if a few of you wouldn't mind like raising your hand if you happen to have an extra machzor, maybe our ushers, oh my gosh, you guys are great. That's like a mitzvah in and of itself. Thank you so much. I'm gonna invite our ushers to kind of come around while we sing a little bit, just to grab a few extras. We probably won't need that many. Thank you so much. Don't get rid of all of them. We want you to have something. Thank you guys so much. I think we're probably good. So we are so excited to be with you on this beautiful Yom Kippur morning. Are you excited?
Yeah.
All right, we got to do better than that. I need a big yes. Are you excited?
Yes!
All right, well, my name is Rabbi Wendy. This is my friend Alan Goodis. We are really excited to be with you. We're going to sing, we're going to pray, we're going to learn, we're going to have fun, and we're going to do it all before 10 a.m. All right, so with no further ado, let's sing.
ourselves this morning, we invite you to find your voices as we sing these words. Yai, lai, lai, Shana Tova. It's easy, we can all try together. Let's lift up our voices and sing. Here we go again. Yalai, lalai, lai, yalai, lalai, lai, yalai, lalai, lai, yai, lai, lai, yalai, lai, lai, yalai, lalai, lai, yalai, lalai, lai, yalai, lalai, lai, yai, lai, lai, yalai, lai, lai, yalai, lalai, lai, yai, lai, yai, lai, yalai, lalai, lai, yai, lalai, lai, lai. Shana Tova, Shana Tova, Shana Tova, Shana
Shana
Tova.
Tova. Oh, see, I got my friends in the front who knew what to do. I know we're still waking up. Let's see if we can greet each other with Shana Tova. Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
Wow, can you hear yourselves? What does that feel like to fill this whole room up with our good wishes for a good new year? That's really what Yom Kippur is actually all about. On Rosh Hashanah, we say it's the new year, but Yom Kippur comes along and helps us figure out a way to actually make it a good new year. So whatever we did in the past year, whatever mistakes we made, we think about those on Yom Kippur so we can make a decision not to make those same mistakes again. And that is how we know this coming year is going to be even better. So let's take a second. Think to yourself, think about last year. Think about all the different things you did, all the great things you did, kids, grown-ups too. Let's think about some of the places where we missed the mark. Maybe where we did something or said something that we wish we didn't do or we wish we didn't say. Anybody in here have a year where they didn't miss the mark at all? I sometimes think I miss the mark way more than I actually get it right. Can anybody, you feel me on that? Anybody? A little too much disclosure, maybe. The good thing about being a human is that we always have the chance to grow. We're never stuck being wherever we are. Raise your hand if you're growing. Kids especially, some of us adults are growing too. Right? If you're a kid, you're growing, right? Your body's growing. You're getting taller, stronger every day. And the inside of ourselves, our souls, they do the same thing no matter how old we are, if we believe in it. So take a second. If you're here with a family member, we want to invite you to just, if you're feeling really brave, share with your family member what you're thinking about when you think about a time you missed the mark this last year. I know this is a lot to ask. Gosh, we already know what we did wrong. Now we have to share it. Let's just share that with the people we're here with. Sharing, I should have said the rules from the beginning. This wasn't the opportunity for you to tell someone else what they did wrong. That's usually much easier, right? But now that you know what someone in your family wants to work on for this year, it actually helps you be their partner in growing. Because we don't have to do all this hard stuff alone. We do it together. That's one of the best parts about being in a family and being in a community. So for our service today, whatever it is that you're thinking about where you missed the mark, I want to invite you to think about what you're going to do in the new year to try not to miss the mark that way again. But I want you to know, even if you miss the mark again, we're still growing, and you don't have to wait till Yom Kippur to try to do better. Every day we can try. That's what counts. So we're going to invite you to open up your prayer book, if you have one in your hand. This prayer book for the high holidays is called a machzor. We're going to invite you to open it up to page 76. We're going to give you a little time to get there. Page 76. And when you get there, if you're feeling ready, if you're feeling like you can, we want to invite you to stand up because we're going to start our service. And we stand up to pray so that we can be ready.
Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Ya la 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 lai lai, yalla lai lai lai, yalla lai lai lai, yalla lai lai lai, yalla lai lai lai. Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed, le'olam va'ed. Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai.
Going to invite you to stay standing up, to turn to page 82. We're doing a lot of big page skips, so we'll just take the time to get there. Once you're there, you'll see we're at a prayer called Shema. This prayer is one of the most important prayers we have in Judaism. In fact, it's one of the prayers that almost everyone who's Jewish has heard of or knows. And the important thing about this prayer is that it invites us to listen. So let's see if we can get ourselves really quiet. Lots of sounds in this room. We're engaging our voices and talking a lot, but let's see if we can just start to hear. Hear the sounds of the people around us, their breathing, hear the music. And then we can even start to listen inside of ourselves to our thoughts, to our own prayers. If you place your hands on your heart and you press in so you can feel your heart beating and you're really quiet, you can even hear your heart beat. So in that quiet place, let's sing together.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
You can sit down. All right, so we're going to move forward to a song called Mi Chamocha. This is on page 86. Mi Chamocha is what our ancestors actually sang when they crossed the Sea of Reeds to become free. They were being chased by Pharaoh and the Egyptians. They got to the Sea of Reeds. It opened up before them, and they made their way across, and they got to leave many of their challenges behind. So grown-ups, here in our space, I want you to think about a time that you were able to overcome a pretty significant challenge in your life. Kids, you can think about this too. But grown-ups, I'm going to invite you, if you're here with children or grandchildren, whatever the age might be, to share that time you're thinking of, that time you faced a really big challenge and you were able to overcome it with your child or your grandchildren. Just take 30 seconds to do that. Every time we sing Mi Chamocha, we can think about the story that brings us back to our ancestors, but we can also think about the challenges in our own life. And remember that we have what we need to overcome them, because we can be strong. We can face any challenge. Let's sing together.
Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osei pele, Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed.
All right, let's move forward to page 103. We're going to read the words in the yellow box at the top together. We thank you, God, for the year that has passed. We tried to do our best, but our best was not always good enough. At times, we aimed too high and missed or forgot ourselves and did things we knew we should not do. We are sorry for our mistakes. A new year starts with this high holy day season. Help us, O God, to do the best we can with the gifts you have given us. Help us to use our strengths and our talents to make the world a better place for all. Many of the gifts we have, Judaism says, come from God. And many of the gifts we have come from the people who've come before us, the people we learned from, the people whose legacies we carry, our parents, our grandparents, our teachers, our friends. We're going to sing a song called L'Dor Vador, which reminds us that we don't just appear magically one day. We come from somewhere. We come from someone. In fact, many people. We're part of an incredible chain. When we're singing this song, think about your chain. Think about the people in your life who've come before you, who make you who you are. Let's remember them and be grateful for them too.
Page 105, we are gifts and we are blessings. We are history in song. We are hope and we are healing. We are learning to be strong. We are words and we are stories. We are pictures of the past. We are carriers of wisdom, not the first and not the last. L'Dor Vador nagid godlecha. L'Dor Vador we protect this chain from generation to generation. L'Dor Vador, these lips will praise your name. Looking back on the journey that we carry in our hearts, from the shadow of the mountain to the waters that would part. We are blessed and we are holy. We are children of your way, and the words that bring us meaning, we will have the strength to say. L'Dor Vador nagid godlecha. L'Dor Vador we protect this chain from generation to generation. L'Dor Vador, these lips will praise your name.
We are all part of generations. We're in a room right now that's filled with generations, and that's a real blessing. We'll move forward to page 107. Families, if you're here with children or grandchildren, we're going to invite you to release your hands from your machzor, from your prayer books, and to actually put your arms around one another. Because being part of a family, being part of a community is an opportunity to bring blessing. So for the grown-ups, on page 107, we want to invite you, if this feels appropriate for you, to read to the children or grandchildren you're here with the words in the yellow box that begin, "May you." May you be like Abraham and Sarah, who had the courage to believe in a God they could not see. May you be like Rebecca, who was kind to all, people and animals. May you be like Jacob, who understood that God could be found everywhere. May you be like Miriam, whose love made her a protector. May you be like Moses, who wasn't afraid to ask for help. May all of your prayers be sweet to you, God, and may this new year be a good one. Amen. Keep your arms around each other.
Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Yair Adonai panav v'elecha v'yichuneka. Yisa Adonai panav v'elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. V'yasem lecha shalom.
Let's turn to page 114. We're going to invite everyone to stand up. One of the ways we think of God on the High Holy Days is like a parent. And one of the ways we think of God on the High Holy Days is like a king, like a sovereign. That's why we say the words of Avinu Malkeinu. Again, on 114, let's read together. Avinu Malkeinu, hear our voice. Avinu Malkeinu, we have missed the mark before you. Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and on our families. Avinu Malkeinu, help us bring an end to sickness, violence, and hunger. Avinu Malkeinu, let our hands overflow with your blessings. Avinu Malkeinu, help us write our names in the book of lives well lived. Let's sing.
Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Onenu va'anenu, ki ein banu ma'asim. Aseh imanu, tzedaka v'chesed. Aseh imanu, tzedaka v'chesed, ve'hoshienu. Aseh imanu, tzedaka v'chesed. Aseh imanu, tzedaka v'chesed, ve'hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Onenu va'anenu, ki ein banu ma'asim.
We're going to stay standing up for a little bit longer. I'm going to invite you to turn to page 139. Grown-ups in the room probably know this, but on Yom Kippur, in our service, we say out loud some of the things we've done wrong in the past year, some of those places we've missed the mark. And for the grown-ups who might know this tradition, you're probably used to having your fist closed and to placing it over your heart. And every time we say one of the places we missed the mark, to tap on your heart. Grown-ups in the room might know a different tradition, which is rather than keeping your fist closed to sort of wake you up to feel a little bit of the sting that comes along when we miss the mark, you might know it a different way, which is to keep your hand open. And when you tap on your heart, instead of feeling the sting, it's meant to awaken your heart, to open your heart, sort of like you're knocking on the door of your heart to feel, to try to be better. So when we read together on 139, each of the places where it says one of the places we might have missed the mark, I want to invite you to do that, to tap on your heart, to knock on your heart, whatever feels right for you. Join me. Sometimes we miss the mark or we don't try our best. Sometimes we miss the mark on purpose, and sometimes by accident. Sometimes we miss the mark by not caring, and sometimes by being mean. Sometimes we miss the mark by acting like we are better than others, and sometimes by not listening. Sometimes we miss the mark by telling lies, and sometimes by hurting people's feelings. Sometimes we miss the mark by being selfish, and sometimes by losing our temper. God, none of us is perfect. We remember the times we have missed the mark so that the next time we can do better. Forgive us and help us to try harder. Help us to learn from our mistakes. Help us to be the best people we can be. We're going to move to take the Torah out of the ark, and so we have the opportunity to hear from it. So we're going to invite you to stay standing while we do that.
We join together and we sing Sweet as honey, just like the apples and honey we maybe enjoyed a few days ago, that words of Torah are said to be sweet to us, like the way honey is sweet on our tongue. We sing like this. Sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey on our tongue. Sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey on our tongue. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav nitzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah, la'asok b'divrei Torah. Sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey on our tongue. You may be seated as we sing. Sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey on our tongue. Sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey on our tongue.
So my friends Michael and Zach have the Torah opened up for us. And one of the cool things, well, there's a million cool things about the Torah, actually, and I could talk about that for a really long time. But what I want you to know right now is look at Michael's side. See how there's not much left here? It's just a teeny bit. And if you look at Zach's side, boy, he's got the harder job here. which is appropriate. Which lets you know that we are almost at the very end of the Torah. You read the Torah from the right to the left, different than you do in a school book, right? And so look how big Zach's side is. That means we already read all of that. And now we're coming toward the very end of Torah. Don't worry, we're going to start the whole thing over in a week and a half. We read it every single year. But on Yom Kippur, we read a Torah portion toward the very end of Torah. And this Torah portion is very important, not just because of what it said back a long time ago, but here's the thing. It's actually talking to each of us today. Can you believe that? This was written like a long time ago. Did you know they knew you all the way back then? They did. Our tradition says that when God gives the covenant to the people, and our Torah portion talks about when God commands the people to be able to become better people, to improve themselves, it says, I am giving this covenant to you, all of you, rich people, poor people, men, women, grown-ups, children, people you know, people you don't know, people you like, people you don't like. They're in there too. And it says not just the people who were here at this time, but all the people who ever were and all the people who would ever be. Which means you're in here and I'm in here. Hey, look out there. All those guys out there, they're in here. All the people watching this stream at home, they're in here. Which is pretty cool. It's like a special invitation just for us. So, grown-ups in the room who are, and by grown-ups, I mean Jewish grown-ups. So if you are B'nai Mitzvah or older, want to invite you to be our blessers, the ones to sing the Torah blessings today. So grown-ups, if you'll please stand up. Kids, this is a really cool thing that gets to happen, but not till your B'nai Mitzvah, not till your bar, bat, or B Mitzvah occurs. Page 121, if you want a reminder. Thank you, Alan Goodis. Let's join together. Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach, Baruch Adonai hamvorach leolam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato, Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah. Amen. Atem nitzavim hayom kulchem lifnei Adonai Elohechem. Hey, all of you this day are standing before Adonai your God. Rashechem, shivtechem, ziknechem, v'shotrechem, kol ish Yisrael, tapchem, nishechem, v'gercha asher b'kerev machanecha, mechotevet secha, ad shoev memecha, le'ovrecha bivrit Adonai Elohecha, v'lato asher Adonai Elohecha koreit imcha hayom. You are all here this day, everyone, from the rich to the poor, the old to the young, the water drawer, the tree chopper, the people who live with you, and the people who are strangers, to join into this covenant that Adonai your God is making with you today. Let's do the blessing after. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu torat emet, v'chaye olam nata b'tochenu, Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. We're going to roll the Torah up. Kids, if you don't mind standing up too, we're going to return the Torah to the ark. And if you're like, I want to see the Torah sometime, all you have to do is come talk to me, not on Yom Kippur, but like any day after Yom Kippur up until the next Rosh Hashanah, and I'll be really excited to show you the Torah up close and personal anytime you want.
Shalom, 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 shalom. It is a dream of life to those who hold fast to it, and all of its supporters are happy. It is a tree of life to them that hold fast to it, and all of its supporters are happy. Shalom, 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 shalom. Sing with us, it is a tree of life. It is a tree of life to them that hold fast to it, and all of its supporters are happy. It is a tree of life to them that hold fast to it, and all of its supporters are happy. Shalom, 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 shalom.
Shalom. Hey, we haven't done a story yet. Do you guys want to hear a story? Yeah, okay, so you can close your prayer books, your machzorim. You can stick them to the side or in the shelf in front of you. So I'm going to tell you a story, as you might imagine, that happened a long time ago, because all of the stories that happen in Yom Kippur services happened a long time ago, in a place that was very far away. But it was a place not so different, actually, than where we are right now. It was a town that sat on the shores of a beautiful, huge lake. And this town was called Paradise. Anybody ever been to Paradise? I have. I bet you have too. Maybe you'll see why. And one of the reasons, in fact, really the reason this town was called Paradise was because everybody who lived in the town treated each other beautifully. The town was ruled by a king who cared so much for the people that lived there. Anytime, in fact, anybody needed anything, the king would say, "What's your problem is my problem, and I will find a way to help you." And he did. So if someone was having a difficult time and they had run out of food, they could go to the king and say, "I've run out of food." And the king would say, "What's your problem is my problem. If you don't have food, then I feel that for you, and I'm going to find a way to help you." And this attitude, this way that the king was contagious. So the people in the town started acting that way too. So if somebody needed bread one day, they could go to the baker and say, "I'm out of bread, I need some bread." And the baker would say, "Of course you can have some bread. What's your problem is my problem." If someone needed shoes, they could go to the shoemaker and say, "My shoes, they're not in the greatest shape, I need some help." And the shoemaker would say, "I'll help you. What's your problem is my problem." And what that meant was no one in the town ever needed anything, because they were there to help one another. And if somebody didn't have something, the other person would provide it for them, because they understood, if someone else has a problem, then I have a problem too. And things lived like this and went like this in Paradise for a long time. But time goes on, and the king eventually passed away. And so a new king came to take his place. But this new king saw things a little bit of a different way. He didn't like the ways of the old king. He wanted to live differently. So one day when his advisors came to him to let him know that there was a village down the road where they had run into a terrible problem, into a famine, and said to the king, "King, our neighbors down the road, they've run into a problem. There's a famine. They have no food to eat. Can we share our food storage with them?" This king thought to himself and said, "Well, we have plenty of food. I have plenty of food. I don't know why I need to care about them down the road. That's not my problem. And then, when the messengers and the advisors of the king came forward and said to him another day, "King, there's been a horrible flood, and our neighbors down the other way are suffering. They need our help. We need to send people to help them." The king looked around and he said, "Well, we didn't have a flood. We are fine here. That's not my problem." And wouldn't you know it, that soon the people who lived in this place that had been called paradise started to act in the same way as this king. They started to forget how it used to be. So when somebody needed bread and would go to the bread maker to say, "Hey, I'm running low, I need challah for tonight," do you know what the bread maker started to say? "Well, that's not my problem." And when someone's shoes became worn out and they went to the shoemaker to say, "Hey, my shoes, the soles, they have holes in them, can you help me?" Do you know what the shoemaker said? "That's not my problem." And soon, paradise was no longer paradise. It was a wilderness. And that's how it was, because it seemed that everybody in what was paradise had forgotten how it used to be, except one person. Her name was Chen. Can you say that? Chen. Chen in Hebrew means grace. Now, Chen remembered the ways of the old king, and she remembered what it had been like in paradise. And she didn't like seeing what had happened to her friends, her neighbors, her town. So she had a very unique and kind of strange idea. Do you remember where paradise was located? On a lake. So Chen thought to herself, "You know what? I'm going to change things around this place, and here's how I'm going to do it." She took all of her life savings, and you'll never guess what she bought. A yacht. A yacht! The fanciest boat she could find, and it was huge. In fact, it was so huge it could fit everyone from the town. And do you know what she decided to do? She decided to take everybody onto her yacht by sending out an invitation to the whole town, inviting them to a massive party. Because whether you had been in paradise or in the wilderness, you still enjoyed a party. And this party was going to be the best thing ever. There would be food, there would be music, it would be on this beautiful yacht on a beautiful lake. And sure enough, everyone said yes. And everyone from the town, including the king, boarded the yacht. The yacht disembarked, made its way right into the center of the lake where the shore could no longer be seen. And everybody was having the time of their life. Nobody was paying attention to Chen. But Chen had brought with her a suitcase, went right to the base floor of the boat, opened her suitcase, and she pulled out a drill. A drill. Now, of the many tools you might want on a boat, a drill isn't typically it. And here is what Chen began to do. She placed the drill right in the center of the bottom of the boat, and she began to drill a hole. And no one was really paying attention to Chen because, remember, they were having a party. They were having a blast where they were enjoying themselves, eating, drinking, dancing, partying, and Chen was just drilling until one person happened to make their way down to the base of the boat and noticed Chen drilling a hole in the bottom of the boat. And they said to Chen, "Chen, what are you doing?" And Chen said, "I'm drilling a hole." And they said, "But Chen, you can't drill a hole. It's a boat. If you drill a hole in the bottom of the boat will fill with water, the boat will sink, and we will all drown." And do you know what Chen said? "That's not my problem." So this person who saw Chen went up to get another few friends to bring them downstairs to say to Chen, "Hey, you gotta stop. This is a ridiculous thing you're doing." And they all came downstairs, and Chen was just drilling. And they said, Chen, what are you doing? And Chen said, I'm drilling a hole in the bottom of the boat. And they said, you can't drill a hole in the bottom of the boat. If you do that, the boat will fill with water, it will sink, and we will all drown. That's not my problem. And this went on and on and on until finally the king himself was brought down to the bottom of the boat, which now had water up to their ankles. And Chen simply kept drilling. And the king interrupted everyone and said, I am the king. You must stop. And Chen said, I don't have to do anything. This is my boat. And the king said, by the order of the king, I need to demand to know what you are doing. And you know what Chen said. I'm drilling a hole in the bottom of the boat. And the king said, Chen, if you drill a hole in the bottom of the boat will fill with water as it already is. It will sink and we will all drown. You will kill us all. And you would think that this would change Chen's response, but it didn't. What did she say? That's not my problem. Now this finally got to the king. And he started to think to himself, well, if she's drilling a hole in the bottom of the boat, it's my problem, it's her problem, it's all of our problem because we are all in the same boat, literally. And that caused the king to start to reflect on everything he had done before. And don't you know it started to do the same thing for everybody else in the town who was now right there with water up to their ankles, approaching their thighs. What's your problem, I remember, is actually my problem. And what's my problem is actually your problem because we are all in the same boat together. Not just in this boat, but everywhere. At which point, the king declared, I will never again say something that's your problem is not my problem. We will share our responsibilities as we used to. At which point, Chen said, phew, and pulled up her drill, corked the hole in the bottom of the boat. The boat was brought back to shore, and everyone disembarked onto a land that once again became paradise, where everyone's problem was everyone else's problem, and no one needed anything anymore because they knew that they all possessed whatever anyone else could need. This idea that we're all in the same boat together is a pretty important one for Yom Kippur. We're supposed to think about all that stuff we've done that we weren't happy about. Do you remember at the beginning of the service when we shared with the people we're here with, the places where we missed the mark? And then I reminded you that in your family, you don't have to try to be a better person alone. We can help each other. Because what's one person's problem is actually everybody's problem. That's a different way we can think about our obligations. What if every time we thought about something we were asked to do, we remembered we were all in the same boat together? Well, then our world might be paradise too. It can be, but it's just up to each of us. Shana Tova. So we are going to move to close our service. Before we do that, we're going to, in just a moment, sing a song called Osei Shalom. You can reopen your Machzorim, your prayer books, if you want. That's on page 145. Actually, 146. If you want to see the words of Osei Shalom. They're the last 5 lines in the Hebrew. These words of Osei Shalom are the words we say and sing at the end of a prayer called the Kaddish, the part of our service where we're invited to remember people who are no longer with us, the people in our lives who've died but whose names we still say. We remember them. If you're remembering someone this Yom Kippur, or maybe many people, I want to invite you just where you are with the family members you're with to say those names aloud, to share them, to fill our space with those names so that we can remember them. Just take a second to do that. Share those names, the people you're remembering, with the people you're with. If you're a kid and you heard a name from the grown-ups you're with, a name you've never heard before, after services, I want you to ask your grown-up to tell you about them. Maybe you even have a picture of that person in your family that you could see. Judaism tells us that as long as we remember the people who've come before us, they stay alive with us because we say their names, we know them, we remember them. It's our opportunity to remember we're part of that really big chain in a really personal way. Let's sing.
Osei Shalom bimromav uyaseh Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Osei Shalom bimromav uyaseh Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen.
It's been so fun to be with you this morning. We wish you a Shana Tova. A few little announcements. First of all, if you haven't had a chance to do so already, one of the ways we are commanded, we are told in Judaism that we can help make ourselves better and we can help make the world better is through tzedakah, giving donations of money and resources to people who are in need. Our synagogue, like all the synagogues around here on the high holidays, collects food and toiletries for the Ark. We have a huge bin in our north parking lot that'll be open through Sukkot. Go to the grocery store, look through your house. If you have kosher, non-perishable food or new toiletries, you can bring them, donate them, leave them into our pod, and those will all go to help people in our community who are in need. Remember, what's somebody else's problem is not just their problem. It's our problem. And we can help make everything better. The rest of the schedule for Yom Kippur is in your pamphlet that you received when you came in. I do want to also say, I forgot that kids or grown-ups, in particular, if you want to see the Torah up close, you can come to Fall Fest in 2 Sundays, and you'll be able to see the Torah unrolled right in here, up close and personal, for Sukkot and Simchat Torah. So you should mark that on your calendar as well. Thanks to our ushers and greeters for welcoming us. Thanks to Michael and Zach for holding the Torah. Thanks to Alan Goodis. Let's sing one more time.
Shana Tova.